The number of victims of yesterday's Russian attack on the Ukrainian city of Sumy has risen to 34. Nearly 120 people were wounded. This is yet another shelling of civilians over the course of the last few days. Last week, a rocket fell on a playground, killing 9 children on the spot. The Kremlin has been committing similar crimes almost daily since the beginning of ceasefire negotiations. There is growing talk in Washington of a stark overhaul of strategy toward Moscow, whose actions contradict its declarations of readiness for a truce. This harrowing footage was released this afternoon by police in Sumy. Shortly after the attack, officers who were in the area were the first to rush to help. Two Russian rockets fell on the city center in the middle of the day. Dozens of people were out on the streets. It was Palm Sunday. The weather was sunny and beautiful. These shocking images circulated around the world. At first, the Kremlin denied the attack, then began explaining that it was hitting military targets. The Ukrainian president called the Russians filthy scum, among many other profanities. This was a terrorist attack directed solely against civilians. The same thing happened in Kryvyi Rih. The hostile media reported that it was an airstrike against an imaginary army to justify this horrible attack. This was just one of a series of attacks against civilians in recent days. In Kryvyi Rih, the Russians targeted a restaurant right next to a playground with a ballistic missile. 20 people, including 9 children, were killed on the spot. Ukrainian soldiers were, allegedly, supposed to be having a meeting at the restaurant. However, no one in Moscow cares about such details as civilians, even children. This Friday marked exactly 1 month since Russia rejected the American proposal for a complete and unconditional ceasefire. They are not afraid. That's why they resort to using ballistic missiles. Every night, there are about 100 drone strikes, most of them Shaheds, which attack civilian areas in Ukrainian cities. These mounted Russian attacks on civilians are causing increasing anger and consternation in Washington. Moscow, on the one hand, has been sending signals to the Americans that it is ready for peace negotiations, while on the other hand, it continues its doctrine of bombing civilian populations. For several weeks, the White House has been increasingly vocal about losing patience with the Kremlin.
It's a delay tactic. The president's not interested in that. If this is dragging things out, President Trump's not going to fall into the trap of endless negotiations about negotiations. We will know soon enough whether or not Russia's serious about peace.
Washington was ready to negotiate and even to convince Kyiv to make concessions. However, it will not agree to being humiliated, and it will be increasingly difficult to justify respectful negotiations while the Russian side is sitting on a ceasefire proposition, all while carrying out these kinds of attacks.